And we're going to take care of our American farmers, and we're going to take care of our manufacturers and our manufacturing jobs. But they're making unbelievable amounts of money. And that's not including the drugs that are flowing through our border because we have no wall and we have no protection. The drugs that are coming in from Mexico and through the southern border is disgraceful. So we'll see whether or not we can make a reasonable NAFTA deal, or deal doesn't have to be called NAFTA. We can do one-on-one with Mexico, one-on-one with Canada. And by the way, Canada, they like to talk. They're our great neighbor. They fought World War II with us. We appreciate it. They fought World War I with us, and we appreciate it, but we're protecting each other. There was a story 2 days ago in a major newspaper talking about people living in Canada coming into the United States and smuggling things back into Canada because the tariffs are so massive. The tariffs to get common items back into Canada are so high that they have to smuggle them in. They buy shoes and they wear them. They scuff them up. They make them sound old or look old. No, we're treated horribly. Dairy. 275% tariff. So basically, that's a barrier, without saying it's a barrier. And I told them, if they don't change their ways, so we have a tremendous deficit. People say, well, there's really not that much of a deficit. Well, they're not including two things, energy and timber. And those are the two big things when it comes to Canada. Now, we have to change our ways. We can no longer be the stupid country. We want to be the smart country. So hopefully, we'll be able to work it out with Canada. We have very good relationships with Canada. We have for a long time, and hopefully that'll work out. But Canada's not going to take advantage of the United States any longer, and Mexico is not going to take advantage of the United States any longer. And when I campaigned, I said, I will either renegotiate NAFTA or I'll terminate it. And we'll start from an even base. And people are afraid of that. You know, I've had so many people, they come up, they say, oh, please don't terminate NAFTA. I said, but it's no good. Yeah, but we know what we have. It's true. People are worried because they know what they have. If you look at, I love the American farmer more than anybody. They have backed me. I love the American farmer. And by the way, I'll tell you in a little while because it's in one of my notes, the American farmer virtually will not have to pay any more estate tax on their farms when they pass away and they want to leave it to their children. And that goes for almost all small businesses. You won't have the estate tax to pay anymore, which was crippling. That was in our bill. See, a young guy is standing up. Now, he's too young to be leaving it, so that means he's a beneficiary. I don't know. Don't act too happy. There's a wealthy father there. Don't act too happy. Is that your father? Oh, wow. The answer is yes. Okay. And you know what? You're both happy, okay? You're both happy, and I'm honored to have done it because it was destroying the estate tax, small businesses, and farms, destroying them. People were mortgaging them to the hilt to pay the tax, and then they couldn't pay the interest on the mortgage, and the banks would take them away. You don't have to pay the estate tax any longer. In most cases. In other words, loopholes. Yeah, if your farm's really big, you start to pay. But it's a pretty big level. You know that. Pretty big. That would have to be a pretty big farm. These loopholes have created a massive child smuggling trade. Can you believe this? In this day and age, we're talking about child smuggling. We're talking about women smuggling in this day and age. The worst it's been in history. Because the internet has led to this. You think back 200, 500, 1,000 years ago, the worst it's ever been. Women smuggling, child smuggling. Since last year, child smugglers who are very, very sophisticated. They've learned the loopholes in this horrible, rotten system that the Democrats have to help us fix, because we need the votes. We could have the Republican votes, 100%. We still don't have enough votes. People don't understand that. We need Democrat votes to get it fixed. These smugglers know these rules and regulations better than the people that drew them. As a result, there's been a 325% increase in minors and a 435% increase in the smuggling or attempted smuggling of families and minors into our country. We're stopping them all the time by the thousands, but they still get through. We have no wall. We have no border security. Without a border, you don't have a country. You don't have a country. Under current law, we have only two policy options to respond to this massive crisis. We can either release all illegal immigrant families and minors who show up at the border from Central America, or we can arrest the adults for the federal crime of illegal entry. Those are the only two options: totally open borders or criminal prosecution for law-breaking. And you want to be able to do that. We don't want people pouring into our country. We want them to come in through the process, through the legal system, and we want ultimately a merit-based system where people come in based on merit. Keep in mind, those who apply for asylum legally at ports of entry are not prosecuted. The fake news media back there doesn't talk about that. They're fake. They are helping these smugglers and these traffickers like nobody would believe. They know it. They know exactly what they're doing, and it should be stopped, because what's going on is very unfair to the people of our country. And they violate the law. People that come in violate the law. They endanger their children in the process. And frankly, they endanger all of our children. You see what happens with MS-13, where your sons and daughters are attacked violently? Kids that never even heard of such a thing are being attacked violently. Not with guns, but with knives, because it's much more painful. Inconceivable. Here we are talking about business. Inconceivable that we even have to talk about MS-13 and other gangs. They attack violently, the most painful way possible. And a bullet is too quick. And we're allowing these people into our country? Not with me. We're taking them out by the thousands. We're taking them out by the thousands. So what I'm asking Congress to do is to give us a third option, which we have been requesting since last year: the legal authority to detain and promptly remove families together as a unit. We have to be able to do this. This is the only solution to the border crisis. We have to stop child smuggling. This is the way to do it. And ultimately, we have to have a real border, not judges. Thousands and thousands of judges they want to hire. Who are these people? When we vet a single federal judge, it goes through a big process. Everybody that's ever met her or him, they come, they complain, they don't complain, they say he's brilliant, she's brilliant, he's not smart enough to be a judge. Now we're hiring thousands and thousands. What country does this? Judges. I won't say it. I refuse to say it. I hope they pick that up back there. They won't. No, seriously, what country does it? They said, sir, we'd like to hire about 5,000 or 6,000 more judges. 5,000 or 6,000? Now, can you imagine the graft that must take place? You're all small business owners, so I know you can't imagine a thing like that would happen. But here's a guy, they say, could you please be a judge? Come on, get it. They line up to be a judge. It's horrible. We don't want judges. We want security on the border. We don't want people coming in. We want them to come in through a legal process like everybody else that's waiting to come in to our country. And it got so crazy that all of these thousands, we now have thousands of judges, border judges, thousands and thousands. And by the way, when we release the people, they never come back to the judge anyway. They're gone. They're in your system. That's it. If they're good, that's great. And if they're bad, you'll have killings, you'll have murders, you'll have this, you'll have that, you'll have crime. You'll have crime. And remember, these countries that we give tremendous foreign aid to in many cases, they send these people up, and they're not sending their finest. Does that sound familiar? Remember I made that speech and I was badly criticized? Oh, what's so terrible what he said. Turned out I was 100% right. That's why I got elected. We want a great country. We want a country with heart. But when people come up, they have to know they can't get in. Otherwise, it's never going to stop. Whether it was President Bush, President Obama, President Clinton, same policies. They can't get them changed because both sides are always fighting. This is maybe a great chance to have it changed. But one of them says, we want to hire 5,000 more judges. I don't want judges. I want border security. I don't want to try people. I don't want people coming in. Do you know if a person comes in and puts 1 foot on our ground, it's essentially welcome to America, welcome to our country. You never get them out because they take their name, they bring the name down, they file it, then they let the person go. They say, show back up to court in 1 year from now. 1 year. But here's the thing. That in itself is ridiculous. Like 3% come back. The other thing they have is they have professional lawyers. Some are for good, others are do-gooders, and others are bad people. And they tell these people exactly what to say. They say the following. They write it down. I am being harmed in my country. My country is extremely dangerous. I fear for my life. Say that. Congratulations, you'll never be removed. This is given to them by lawyers who are waiting for them to come up. And they're not all bad people. They're impractical people. But in a way, that's cheating because they're giving them statements. They're not coming up for that reason. They're coming up for many other reasons, and sometimes for that reason. There's been a 1,700% increase in asylum claims over the last 10 years. Think of that. Think of that. We're a great country, but you can't do that. Smugglers know how the system works. They game the system. They game it. It's so easy for them. They're smart. They didn't go to the Wharton School of Finance. They did. But you know what? They're really smart. The United States has just surpassed Germany as having the most asylum seekers of any nation on earth. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine? And Germany, we talk about Germany. They allowed millions of people in. And by the way, their crime from the time they started is up more than 10%. And that's one of the reasons it's at that level is because they don't like reporting that kind of crime. So they put it down as different kind of crime. But their crime is up more than 10% since they started taking them in. I heard somebody said that crooked Hillary Clinton was questioning that statistic. She said, it's not true. It's not true. Didn't she already have her chance? I mean, I'll tell you what, when you read the IG report with these really dishonest people, and I was never a deep state guy, let me tell you, we got some bad people that are doing bad things, but when you read that IG report about how she got away with what she got away with, it's a disgrace. It's a total disgrace. And you ought to see the hearings that are right now on television, but that folks are being, they're going on to the mainstream fake news media. They want to focus on immigration because they want to keep the cameras away from the hearings. because those hearings are not good for them. In fact, they're a disaster for them. The whole thing is a scam. It's a scam. And what's happened is a disgrace. So we have a House that's getting ready to finalize an immigration package that they're going to brief me on later, and that I'm going to make changes to. We have one chance to get it right. We might as well get it right, or let's just keep it going, but let's do it right. We have a chance. We want to solve this problem. We want to solve family separation. I don't want children taken away from parents. And when you prosecute the parents for coming in illegally, which should happen, you have to take the children away. Now, we don't have to prosecute them, but then we're not prosecuting them for coming in illegally. That's not good. We want to end the border crisis by finally giving us the legal authorities and the resources to detain and remove illegal immigrant families altogether and bring them back to their country. We have to bring them back to their country. Now think of all that aid that we give some of these countries. Hundreds of millions of dollars we give to some of these countries, and they send them up. Well, I'm going to go very shortly for authorization that when countries abuse us by sending their people up, not their best, we're not going to give any more aid to those countries. Why the hell should we? Why should we? So this is a responsible, common-sense approach that all lawmakers should embrace, Democrats and Republicans. And remember, we need the Democrats. People say, oh, you have the majority. Well, in the Senate, we have one, but you need 60. So we'll be at, if we get 100%, we'll be at 51. 100%, we'll be at 51. So we need 9 votes. We need 10, 12, 13 votes. We have to have Democrat support, because we need to go not just a majority, unfortunately, which we could get. We need to go to 60 out of 100. We need Democrat support. They don't want to give it because Democrats love open borders. Let the whole world come in. Let the whole world, MS-13 gang members from all over the place, come on in. We have open borders. And they view that, possibly intelligently, except that it's destroying our country. They view that as potential voters. Someday, they're going to vote for Democrats because they can't win on their policies, which are horrible. They found that out in the last presidential election. In fact, their only policy was that Donald Trump is a bad guy. He's a bad person. Vote against Trump. And they said it so many. There's hundreds of millions of dollars of negative ads. Nobody's ever been hit like that. I used to go home. I started disliking myself. It's true. I said, man, am I that bad? The problem is they never told anybody what they're doing. They didn't talk about tax cuts. By the way, they want to take away your tax cuts, and they want to substantially increase your taxes. They didn't talk about crime. All they talked about was Trump. So when people got to the booth, they said, we're going to vote Democrat. We're going to vote Democrat. But then they get up, they say, but what does she stand for? What do they stand for? They just say Trump. No, I'm going with Trump. And that's what happened. We got tremendous Democrat support. It's a beautiful thing. That was a beautiful night. Do you agree? That was a beautiful night. That was some night. Not since Ronald Reagan have they done any major tax cutting. And they've wanted to many, many times. I tell this story all the time. I said, I don't understand it. Cutting taxes should not be hard to sell, right? Is there anything easier? We're going to cut your taxes, and you can't get it through. So the leadership came to my beautiful Oval Office. It is a beautiful office, great office. And they talked about the tax reform. I said, what's the word reform? What does that mean, reform? Does that mean you're going to raise taxes? What does it mean? No, sir, we have the Tax Reform Act of 2017. I said, no, I don't want to go reform. Nobody knows what reform means. Then I look back at all of the times they tried to pass tax cuts. They don't use the word tax cuts. They use the word tax reform. I said, nobody knows what reform means. They want to know about tax cuts. They don't want to know about tax reform where we're going to raise your taxes, where we're going to take away your businesses. You're going to take away, because tax reform, we're going to take away your farms. They don't want the word reform. They want the word tax cuts. Sir, could you give us a name? I'll give you the name. I'll give you the name. It's called the Tax Cut Bill of 2017. That's what it's called. Right? Thank you. Our future has never looked brighter, and that's because of the hardworking Americans like you and millions of small business owners who took the chance to do what they love, to follow their hearts, and to chase their very beautiful dreams. You are the ones who are shaping our industry. You are the ones who are shaping and restoring our prosperity. We are restoring our prosperity. You've seen GDP. You see what projections are. Who knows? But numbers that nobody ever thought possible. I look so forward to seeing some of those numbers. But you see what projections are. People are projecting numbers like nobody thought even possible. Numbers that I would likewise, like I wouldn't have said on jobs, I wouldn't have said on growth, I wouldn't have said. Let's see what happens. But we're doing well as a country. And you're the ones truly who are making America great again. So happy anniversary. God bless you. And God bless the United States of America. Thank you very much. Thank you.